Blackout 2025. People are fed up with making these major corporations rich. I'm stepping on these leaves. It's holiday season, fall season. People are fed up. They literally don't have a choice to celebrate the holidays in the way that they once used to. And people are done going in debt just to enjoy the holidays.
From November 25th, 2025, this year, to December 2nd, they're calling it a mass blackout. Not a march, not a protest, no science necessary. It's 1 week where we pull our dollars out of the system and see what happens when the economy feels the weight of our absence. Because we've marched, we've begged, most of us voted the right way. And now we're just going to sit back and test the one thing this country truly worships: money. See, this isn't the first time we've tried this, right? Economic boycotts have always been the heartbeat of real change, from Montgomery to Operation Breadbasket. When the buses lost money, segregation fell. When companies realized ignoring Black consumers meant losing profit, they started hiring, promoting, and pandering. History has already shown us that pulling our dollars hits harder than any speech, any march, any protest ever could. The timing isn't random. Black Friday is the biggest spending weekend in America. Billions get poured into corporations that barely reinvest in the communities that made them rich in the first place. So from November 25th to December 2nd, the goal is simple, okay? Buy nothing that doesn't circulate back into us. You hear me? Support small, support local, support Black. Because when we withhold our dollars, we remind this country that we're not just consumers. We are the economy. So yeah, the mass blackout isn't about canceling Christmas or skipping joy. It's about shifting power and realizing that every dollar that we spend is a vote for the world that we live in. They've ignored our voices. They've ignored our pain. Let's see if they ignore our absence. We're not asking anymore. We are shutting this down. Okay? No spending. If you do need something, make sure you go to farmers market, support small businesses. There's a ton of places that you can go to make sure you support the right people, not corporations. We are done. We're done.
I have always hated Christmas for the sake of the capitalistic side of things. It's just materialism is all it is, you know? And this year, I told my kids, I was like, you're not getting a big Christmas. You're just not. Because with everything that is going on right now, people were already struggling before the government shut down and before SNAP benefits were affected. And now look at it. We got the same problems, but now on a much larger scale. People aren't going to be able to eat. I would not feel comfortable in my own home knowing that I bought all this materialistic garbage for my family, knowing that somebody else ain't eating. They couldn't have picked a worse time to do this. The holiday season, that tells you right there, man, that's the biggest slap in the face ever. Like, you got 365 days a year where you could have, and I don't condone any of what is going on. But for them to pick this specific time of the year, that just goes to show how much they don't care. So no, I'm not feeding giant corporations and Fortune 500 companies my money for your capitalistic trash. Nope. It ain't happening.
I think we reached a point now where a lot of people done reached a breaking point where they're starting to realize that, yo, I'm either going to sink on this ship with this financial struggle, or I'm going to be able to stay afloat. And I'm starting to see a lot of people starting to have this rebellion of they're not buying nothing. They're keeping their bread. I think it's very smart for people to start to strategize and figure out ways to try to minimize their costs of just their purchases. A lot of us overbuy. Me as well. I got too many headphones, too many technology items, too many TVs, too many pairs of jeans, too many things of cologne. I got endless amounts of bull-ish. But at the end of the day, it made me realize the things that we was comfortable doing before, we're no longer comfortable doing now. We're seeing it. It's the reason why when I put a post out talking about today's economy, why people show love and they also send their comments and their views of how they feel about what I said. And a lot of people are not far off of how I feel. A lot of us. I might not be homeless. I might not be struggling to the point where as though I don't have no money in the bank, but I'm feeling it. You got government out of work right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I tell you right now, people right now are sitting on their ass trying to figure life out. And trying to figure life out right now, you probably can't even figure it out. What are your options when there are no options? I seen a dude send a post out, find a second job. What the fuck that's going to do for you if your overhead bills is high already? Whereas though it was complimentary. I don't know if I said that word right, but ignore that word. Don't tell me I need to figure that word out. You figure it out. If you don't know how to operate with the money you was already getting, what is your second job going to do? Second job ain't going to do shit. Not only that, you got to be able to get hired from that second job. So that means if you're already out of work, that means you're looking to be maybe hire in the next 3 to 4 weeks, almost a month, because the hiring process ain't that quick. And if it's under the table, then you can get a job just that quick. But a lot of times, you can't find under the table jobs like you used to. People got those. A lot of people got those. And casinos doing bad. A lot of areas doing bad. You better look it up. Vegas doing very, very bad. They doing bad. Vegas is like a meat packing district right now. Like, hey, it is off the rockers right now. Y'all wonder why violence is so high. You know why? They're struggling. Yes, they are. As Harriet Tubman would say, okay, Harriet Tubman, I don't feel Harriet, but she did. Yeah, she ain't here. Look, man, we doing bad. You got some people doing real good. You got some people doing okay. I'm one of the ones that's probably doing okay. Okay. Okay is you have a couple dollars in the bank, which can hold you over for probably a couple months, which is good. It's a plus. But you know what's not a plus? You get fired, all of a sudden that money gets swallowed up quick. When the money stops, the bills seem to start going up. You know why? Because now your ass is sitting home and now you're trying to figure it out and you can't. And you just sitting there like, damn, I got kids, I got this, I got that. Damn, the electric bill is due. Why the electric bill so high? I'm trying to understand why the electric bill. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stay focused. About to talk about my own experiences. Why the electric bills just as much as damn mortgage or a car note? It depends where you at. It depends. Look, man, I take my hat off to y'all out here that's trying to figure it out. And if you have figured it out, hey, do what you got to do. But I can tell you this now. Don't look over to somebody for help when you see that they can't help you. I know a lot of times when people going through it, they ask the people for help. Guess what? The people that still got a job can't help you. You know why? Because they one paycheck away from falling flat, just like you. Peace.
So Americans are not okay. We're not okay in 20 and 25. The American economy, inflation, just the cost of living. It is crazy during this time of the decade. I remember in 2020, I didn't really notice inflation too much because it hasn't really hit us yet. All the printing of the trillions of dollars hasn't really hit us yet in 2020. 2021, the same way. 2022, it was right on the verge of hitting us. I think most of Americans really started noticing it starting in 2023. It's like, boom, all the printing of the trillions of dollars from the stimulus checks and all that is going to affect the U.S. economy. You can't just print trillions of dollars and then not mess up the economy. I mean, printing money, fiat money out of thin air is going to affect us. And so while the stimulus checks felt good in the moment, I think it was a major cause of all this inflation that's happening. And then 2025 now, it just increased every single year from like 2022 through 2025. And we are where we are now. Now, everybody's not feeling the holidays because Like the guy said in the second TikTok, it's like the worst time of year for the holidays to come, and you can't really push back the holidays. It's going to come at the same time every single year, November and December. But so much of the American population, government shutdown, didn't get paid for over a month, the longest government shutdown in history, I believe. And then the people in the lower class, those who are less well off, well, they lost their SNAP benefits. And so all this is happening towards the holidays. And it's like a lot of Americans are seeing this, seeing how bad we are in our financial situation. And even if you're doing better than the people in the lower end, you're still affected by it. The only way you're not affected by this is if you're upper class. And to be upper class, I would say in America, you need to be making above 250K. 250K is like the new six figures. I saw that in a TikTok video on a TikTok pretty recently. They're like 250K is new $100,000. So probably comparing it to the 2000s purchasing power, the purchasing power of the dollar has decreased, I feel like, in just the last decade by about 50%. By about 50% just in the last decade. But going back to the 2000s, to have the same purchasing power as $100,000, then you probably need to be making 250 bands in 2025. That kind of has a nice ring to it. 250,000 in the year 2025. But yeah, 250,000 is a new $100,000 back in the 2000s. And I don't think that's an over exaggeration. If it is, it's not that much of one. You can look at the calculators. I don't have it up with me right now to see the exact rates of like inflation compared from 2000s to today. But we all know it's bad in just the last 20 years, even in the last 10 years. But people are just fed up with all this. Middle class has shrunk so much. You know, I would say back in the 2000s when I was growing up, the middle class was a good portion of the American population. Let's just say it was this. And you had the upper class up here, and then you had the lower class like down here. But now the middle class has shrunk to maybe like that. Very small. To be middle class in America, you probably have to be making at least, well, you do, at least six figures. If you make less than six figures in any state, even the cheapest state, I honestly don't think you're middle class. You may be lower, like higher, lower class. And I say six figures to be comfortable because when you think of middle class, you think of somebody who's living comfortably. They're not stressing about money. I mean, they can't do everything they want, but they have leeway with what they do. They're not constantly stressing about money. If they miss one paycheck, they're like, I'm about to be kicked out and evicted out my apartment or my house or whatever. If they miss one of their checks, they're not going to be stressing like crazy. I honestly don't know what the actual definition of middle class is, but in my understanding of middle class, my belief about it, to be middle class, you need to be living pretty comfortably. And it depends on where you live in the US. If you live in New York City, San Diego, LA, Boston, Massachusetts, what does that look like? I would say $250,000 plus, in those very expensive cities. Now, if you live in Orlando, that may look like $150,000 because Florida is a lot cheaper than LA and New York City. It's still expensive though, but just not as bad. If you live in Wichita, Kansas, that might look like $115,000. But even in a cheap state like West Virginia, I would say $100,000 should be middle-class household income. Don't quote me on all the stats there. But it really depends on where you live in the U.S., depending on what is middle class for you and your family there. But yeah, New York City, $250,000 is actually, it's not that much for a New Yorker. It's like, okay, that's good money. In New York, it is good money. You're going to be comfortable, I believe, in New York City making that much household income. But it's not like you're super rich. You're not even rich. You're not wealthy making that in New York. To be wealthy in New York, I would say $500,000 plus per year. In LA, San Diego, all these expensive cities. I mean, think about that. A house in New York City metro area is probably $1 million, at least for a decent house. Same with LA, same with San Diego. And so it depends on where you live. But people around this holiday season, y'all, if you're middle class or below, even middle class people are struggling. And we're just not as excited about the holidays right now. We're not like, oh, I got to get my family all the presents. Gonna have the best Christmas, the most giving of amazing presents ever. Nobody's thinking that way right now, unless you're above middle class. Nobody's thinking that way. You know, some of us still love the holidays. We still want to celebrate it, but we're just not going to spend as we used to because we literally don't have the choice to. Like we just can't unless you go in debt, but that's not smart. And I would suggest not to do that. Bad financial decision. Why would you go in debt just to give people that you love presents? I mean, it's kind of like when you're in an airplane and they say, put on your own mask before you put on somebody else's mask. Same thing. You're going to give somebody else something, but you're going to make yourself go in debt. It's not a good thing to do. Not wise. Not wise at all. But anyways, let me know what y'all think. You can still be festive. You can still celebrate the holidays, but people are fed up with the whole commercialization of these holidays. And these corporations wanting us to spend so much money when 90% of the U.S. population doesn't have the money, the extra money to really spend. Yeah. Take care. Good talk. Good talk.